In this lesson, we're going to look at how vertex order, or what's also known as winding order, defines the primitive normal direction of polygons. Primitive faces and surfaces are infinitely thin surfaces without any measurable thickness. In the real world, even the thinnest of surfaces has some measurable thickness, even if it's only microns. A real world surface has two sides to it, and each of those sides point in the opposite directions. In the CG world, a surface only has a single side, which faces in a single direction, and it's the primitive normal direction which indicates the viewable front side of the surface. A primitive's normal direction is determined by the order which the vertices are attached to the points. We saw in the last course that geometry in Houdini is constructed by first creating points and then adding a primitive to connect those points, and that primitive is connected to each point by a vertex. If we look at the vertex order of this single polygon, we can see that the vertices are ordered in a clockwise direction. So we start with vertex number 0 in this corner here, and then vertex number 1 here, vertex number 2 here, and vertex number 3 here. With polygons, the vertices are stitched to the points in either a clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, and this is what's known as the winding order. The winding order determines the normal direction of the face. The front side of the polygon is the side where the vertices are stitched to the points in a clockwise direction. If we want to flip the normal of the primitives to be facing in the opposite direction, then we need to reverse the order which the vertices are stitched to the points. And there's a couple of different nodes that we can use to do that. The go-to node is the reverse node, so I'll add a reverse node after this grid. And when I set the display flag to this, we see that the polygon normal gets flipped to face in the opposite direction. And if we look at the side of the primitive that we were viewing previously, we can see that the vertex order is being reversed, and now the vertices are stitched to the points in an anti-clockwise direction. When we view the opposite side of the primitive, the vertex order when we view it from this direction is clockwise, and this dictates that the primitive is facing in this direction. This makes more sense if we visualize it, and to do that we could use the same practical example of rigging up a tarpaulin that we used in the last course when we were looking at how vertices attach primitives to points. And I've got a simplified version of that here in this subnetwork. So I'll just plug the output of this grid into this first input here and set my selectable template flag on it. And I'll also just bypass this reverse node for a moment. So now, like before, we've got the tops of the poles which represent the points. And let's say that this polygon here is the tarpaulin, and that the vertex markers that we see in each corner are the eyelets or the fasteners to attach each corner of the tarpaulin to the pole. If we were to write a number in each corner of the tarpaulin to label each eyelet, and we order them in a clockwise direction, then we get exactly what we see here with the vertex numbers. Now, if we said that we wanted to flip this tarpaulin over, then to do that we need to disconnect the eyelets from the tops of the poles and reattach them in a different order. So if we were to take eyelet number 1 here, which is attached to this pole, and attach it to this pole over here, and I disconnect eyelet number 3 and attach it to this pole over here, then by doing that we effectively flip the tarpaulin over so that it's facing in the opposite direction, and we can see that those numbers which we drew in each corner are now ordered in an anti-clockwise direction when we look at the structure from the top. If we look at the structure from below, then we see that original top side of the tarpaulin, and we see that the eyelet numbers, when we view the tarpaulin from this direction, are winding around the perimeter of the tarpaulin in a clockwise direction. It's important to note that reversing the vertex order doesn't affect the order or the position of the points. We're simply disconnecting those vertices from the points and reattaching them in the reverse order. If we look at the parameters for this reverse node, we can see that it only operates on vertices. And we see that the default operation is to reverse the vertices in the U direction. When we're working with polygons, then we're only ever working with the U dimension. Because if you remember from the last course, a polygon face is also a closed curve. And so the vertices are stitched in order along the curve. With polygons, it doesn't matter which of these reverse options we choose. So whether we choose to reverse U, or reverse V, we always get the same result. We're just reversing the direction which the vertices are stitched to the points around the perimeter of the polygon. They're either winding in a clockwise direction or an anti-clockwise direction. And the front side of the polygon is always the side where the vertices are winding in a clockwise direction.